It's too early to be up in the morning editing. Harry. Hello, long dog. Oh, you're a very long dog. Hello, pup. Hello, sweetheart. Oh, oh, hello. Ah. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? Get your belly rubbed? I don't know. She just wanted to pop in and wish us success on our editing endeavors. Because, like, if I get a bestseller with this guy, she's eating nothing but steak. Uh, Why is it trying to reload this site? All right, well, and as annoying as that is, let's just reload and then go to Control Find 27. And so we held a trial yesterday. It was superb. So, yeah, once in a while in this social group that I'm in, people get mad at each other, and then we'll hold a trial. And this was one of the more eventful trials that we've held. Oh, and the whole trial was just because one guy in the chat group keeps posting gifs of Jeanette McCurdy, and finally everybody else couldn't take it anymore. Uh, Oh, justice has prevailed. All right, here. Na, 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 na. All right. Well, I suppose I should begin. All right, let me get into this guy here. I guess I'll link it in one other place, because why not, you know? You do... There we go. We're on Twitch as well, and you know, at the end of this, I thought I was gonna throw together like a big Discord of all the people participating in the chat, but everybody's already on my Discord for my show. So, yeah, I'm so happy with how this trial went down. Let me see. I think nobody's out here. Horse in the morning. Hey man. Yeah, we really picked a good chapter too to be hung over as F on. Well, it really is working though. I'm cursing a lot less now that I have to pay $1 every time I want to swear. What are we currently at? So you can take a look at the swear jar count right here on our leaderboard. So for those who don't know, as we edit these novels live on stream, I like the new cover too, by the way. I think I'm going to change the ZYZ text on the bottom and just have this. I think this is the print cover. Honestly, I like the black and white Might add like some faint grid lines or whatever. What's up, DNSK? DNSK, you missed the trial of the century yesterday. This was amazing. So Stovepipe was unfairly accused, it seems, of being creepy by constantly posting pictures of iCarly. And we took him to trial. And then a racer showed up 10 minutes late. He was IRCing from the car. And then Octo, who was supposed to defend Stovepipe, just bailed completely. So we had to get a public defender from the chat audience. And we picked Pluto, who has been picked up by the cops so many times. He knows exactly how to be a defense attorney. He was soft-spoken. He was relatable. He argued about the lifestyles of Japanese salarymen and feet pictures. And ultimately, he was triumphant. So it was a major loss for the accusers of Seijay and Octo. And the Stovepipe is completely exonerated, so he can continue to drink 40 Miller Lights every morning and post pictures of Jeanette McCurdy to his heart's desiring. It's a true victory for IRC justice. I was the judge in the case, and I was very concerned about the First Amendment ramifications of somebody not being able to post an image over and over again just because they have the autism disease. So I'm glad that we were able to triumph in that regard. And Godspeed to Stovepipe and all he's endured. And we'll see if there are any countersuits or anything like that filed. But yeah, it's pretty crazy there. All right, I'm going to get down to editing. And by the way, like, feel free to sample any of this and any of these streams and add them to like a throbbing techno mix, as I know you're wont to do all the time. And for people who don't know, DNSK is a DJ out of Sweden, and he has many popular mashups on SoundCloud and streams all the time and so forth. He's a real run right there. And there's so many things going on, I can't keep track of all of them. And is also probably a fellow sufferer of intense ADHD or Lackawanna or whatever there. But, oh man, DNSK, you were going to flip when you see the new show setup. It's crazy, right? You're gonna like what you see there. And I'm working on it this weekend. But for now, so a little backstory on this chapter. It's very long and comes on the heels. It's very long, and it's because our IRL thread has kind of faded into the background because there's like some medical drama here. This section of the story is where you're going to get nearly all of the fantasy threads and stuff that are wrapped up. The group of boys has moved from playing like war games in the back of the store to this is they're staying out at night and playing games and so forth. And so this is, yeah, really like a huge throwback to nostalgia of New Mexico and the late 70s and, being like a young boy and into all these hobbies and so forth. And, that's a point in your life where you can just really disappear into daydreams in a way that takes like a lot of effort when you get older. Like I try to spend about half an hour of every day, more if I can, daydreaming, but it's normally just in, when you're lying in bed or trying to fall asleep or whatever. That's where like most of that happens. And then hopefully that attains my dreams and I crusade through some fantasy realm all night instead of actually like processing the memories that are poisoning me. But so moving on, let's try and edit this chapter. The three adventurers were sorely spent, with leagues to cover before sunrise. Okay, and that's a comma because they are not independent clauses. By the light of the silver moon, and we don't... I don't think we capitalize silver moon elsewhere. By the light of the silver moon, Yurig was pale and drained, while Bobbert... By the light of the silver moon, Yurig was pale and drained. Bobbert stumbled along in the dark behind him. Cold fog stumbled around them. Bobbert stumbled along in the dark behind him as Cinnabinathi kept watch from behind. Alright, so let me check. I don't feel the need for any comma in that sentence. No, I feel like there's one after him. Let's check. Hello, long dog. Hello, buddy. Hello. Hello, sweetheart. Oh. You want to speak for your adoring fans into this here microphone? I just fed her like a big breakfast. They went for a walk with like all the trees and squirrels and so forth. Later today, she's going to chase the BALL. We're going to go have like one of those long arm thrower things, and I'm going to sail it out for her and stuff. And I guess now she just wants to chill in my lap. So it's a cozy way to spend the morning there. All right, so let's find out if this actually needs a comma. I now lean towards just because while there's now like dog slobber on my keyboard. Thank you. That dog likes to lick the inside of your mouth, man. It's abominable. Nope, no comma. All right. Okay, I like that a little bit better. Bobbert stumbled in the warrior's shadow as Cinnabinathi kept watch from behind. Cold fog closed around them, and the land rose. Cold fog rose around them as they approached the northern end of the Valley of Six Mists. Cinnabinathi struggled as well. The road was hard. Cinnabinathi struggled, though she was loath to show it. When she climbed over a branch or scrambled down a slope, pain stabbed her left side. Though his cheeks blazed, she'd make Bobbert look under her camise to see if her ribs were cracked. Her smirk vanished in a gasp, but he... Her smirk vanished in a gasp as he prodded and probed. Not broken, only bruised, Bobbert opined. Cracked or not, they had to press on. Goblins followed them. If the Wolf Riders is if the Wolf Riders caught up before Cinnabinathi's party could reach the main force. If the Wolf Riders caught up before they rejoined the main force, no prophecy could save them. On a foggy night. Oh, yeah. She's my sweetie. Yeah, she's just sleeping on my lap now. The life of a dog. They pushed their pains aside and pressed Hogg into the foggy night. Cinnabinathi made Urag march ahead so she can keep an eye on him. Though he'd saved her life, the sellsword had not gained her trust. She'd fought the Windsworn before. Once, her hawk moon arrived too late and found a hamlet in ashes. Once, her hawk moon arrived too late, comma. Once, her hawk moon found a hamlet in ashes after an attack by the Reavers. The Reavers. Once, her hawk moon found a hamlet in ashes after an attack by the Reavers. Inside a seamstress's shop, there were 10 scratches gouged into the floor. The woman had sunk her nails into the boards as they dragged her away. For all their talk of honor, the windsworn were little more than blue-eyed, oversized goblins. They blighted everywhere the winds bore their white-masted war galleys. Though Ureg had saved them both, it did not change what he was. The silver moon vanished behind the western range, and they made their way by starlight alone. They were less than a league. The silver moon vanished behind the western range, and they made their way by starlight alone. They were less than a league from the Viridian River, close enough to hear the rapids roar. Bobbert dragged his feet and stumbled over a stone. If Ureg was tired, he gave no sign. Stop there. Yeah. Stop there, Cinnabanathi ordered Ureg. Rest. I will keep watch in the trees. Now you can explain yourself, Reaver. Keep your voice low. I will hear. Sharp ears, Ureg grinned. Cinnabanathi glared back. She turned to Bobbert and spoke a few words in the lowest mode of Elvish. Bobbert gulped and nodded to say he understood. What did you say to him? Ureg demanded. Cinnabanathi did not answer. She gritted her teeth, climbed into the tree, and vanished. She said, if you lie, she'll put an arrow through your spine and will leave you for the goblins. Bobbert translated. I could have left you to them as well, Ureg rankled. We must take care. Our quest is larger than us. If we fail, many will suffer. Please, what happened to you? Bobbert spoke with calm diplomacy. There is much to tell. Promise me you'll let me finish before you decide whether I live or die, Ureg demanded. Ureg insisted, because he demanded a little earlier. I promise nothing. Cinnabanath's voice seemed to come from all around them. Just tell the truth, Bobbert pressed. Bobbert urged. All right, so this is one where we really have like a lot of dialogue tags doing a lot of work in this, just to like carry on the story. And I don't know how much people love or hate this. Let me just take a gander. All right. Prioritize action beats and context to show who is speaking and their tone without needing explicit tags. Yeah, really. So, but this is what the AI thinks. There's a master class in using dialogue tags. Uh-huh. All right, so they're meant to be used sparingly. Embrace the use of the word said. Action beats can be a great substitute. Mix it up with indirect dialogue. Let's see. Dialogue tags can be used to express internal thoughts. All right, none of this is especially helpful to me, but it may be that I'm too hungover to learn anything. The main thing is that we got through the intro to this thing, and then let's cut this out, and let's make this a comment. Ooh, I just wanted to shout out to myself for I've been doing like 2 streams a day every day for July, pretty much, and like this is what I wanted to have happen. So if we could just get this to where it's happening every day, where I'm carving out about 4 hours of streaming time every day, and start monetizing it again and feeling good about what we're doing and so forth, like I really get to a point where ideally I don't want to work at a dozen other jobs to make ends meet. I'd love to be selling enough books to support myself and all the moochers that hang out with me. I made a terrible mistake, Ureg began. He stopped and searched for words. He could not find them. Start at the beginning, Bobbert suggested, partly to ease him in, partly because he could not stop. As you wish. I left the north when I was not much older than you and sought my fortune. It is our wind-sworn way, to go where we are blown and let the Zephyrin place us. I love to ride and fight. Soon, others of a like mind began to follow me. We heard of war in the south and went to join the battle. The banner never mattered much to us. We would fight with an army until the money ran out, then we'd sign with their foes. We grew flush with gold, and my name became famous. That was my undoing. I burned too many generals, and word got around. No army would sign us. My money ran low, and my men began to grumble. There is no greater danger than to lead a band of unpaid mercenaries. So this is almost taken directly out of Three Wolf. In Three Wolf, Flinzer Schist is also the leader of a band of mercenaries, and he's starting to have trouble to pay them. And it's a major plot point in that story where they are going for like a crazy bounty. So yeah, one of the things, when you write a lot of stuff, you just find yourself kind of repeating certain beats over and over again, like your Tarantino. Yeah, like everybody always makes fun of like all the diddle-eyed Joe and whatever there. But part of writing is compulsive. Like you have to do this. You have to get this idea out of you, or it'll just die and never be anything. And certainly, like those compulsions, they don't just stop at one thing. So always kind of interesting to me what people repeat, because often it's the beats that you repeat over and over and over that say what you truly are, like Stovepipe and his never-ending obsession with Jeanette McCurdy, like EFS Enable and his never-ending obsession with whatever, like Robert Jordan and girls like smoothing their skirts and tugging their pigtails and stuff. Like it's the what we repeat that says what we really are in some way, shape, or form, or what we can't escape. So no army would sign us. My money ran low and my men began to grumble. There is no greater danger than to lead a band of unpaid mercenaries. I heard of a border lord who was paying well for skilled riders. Tell me, do you know of Duke Yamon? Bobbert nodded. Yes, he's infamous. Nilium Yamon, son of Morgru, Duke of Vanayan, an open traitor. The rumors about that one are too black to be believed. What rumors? Tell me what you've heard, Ureg urged. They say the bloodline is cursed. Red madness take the men in middle age, and the sons slay their fathers. The cycle accelerates. Morgru was 23 when he slew his sire. Nilium was just 19. Eventually, a Yomon babe will be born with a dagger in his hand. Eventually, he needs a comma. Ureg did not laugh. No one told me he was a madman. I had to find out for myself. He was sound enough when we spoke. All right, so we don't want to repeat sound there, but we need one solid and one sound. He was solid enough when we spoke. His plan was sound, and he was free with his coin. He was sound enough when we spoke. His plan was solid, and he was free with his coin. All right, yeah, I could scarcely refuse in any case. My coffers were empty. It was Yamon, banditry, or mutiny. Yet surely you knew he was a traitor, Bobbert accused. Ureg lifted his eyes to the trees. In the murk he could not see Cinnabanathi. Her threat was heavy on his mind. Yes, I knew. Ureg set his jaw, ready for judgment. None came. Why sign on with a traitor? I have no love for your Imperium. Twice they have tried to conquer the North. Twice we have sent them back in tatters. Yes, I have ridden with rebels. Some are scum, like any other army. Most are good men. They want nothing more than to be free of an empire that takes everything they earn and gives nothing in return. It's no crime to betray a tyrant. His blue eyes blazed in the twilight, daring the apprentice to disagree. Bobbert waited him out. There were signs, of course, but I ignored them in my desperation. Nilium trusted me immediately and said our meeting was destiny. He believed our meeting was destiny. He shared his plans to secede freely and told me he could not be stopped. He took me to the cellars of Stratum Keep. Stratum's not even in the chat to know that we named this one for him. He took me to the cellars of Stratum Keep, an enormous vault carved in the vast. An enormous vault. Okay, and we need a comma here. He took me to the cellars of Stratum Keep, an enormous vault carved into a cavern of salt. They were casts stacked to the rafters, supplies to outlast a 3-year siege. Nilium knew the Emperor would send a legion to crush his rebellion, but Stratum Keep is built... We don't need a but. Stratum Keep is built against a mountainside high in the hills. It is unassailable. Any siege would surely ground to a halt at his walls, and then my riders would take over. All right. All right, and so we've rewritten this whole paragraph. Let's try it again. Nilium knew the Emperor would send a legion to crush his rebellion. Stratum Keep is built against a mountainside, high in the hills. It is unassailable. The Imperial army would be stymied at his walls. Let's make this a legion. The Imperial Legion would be stymied at his walls, and then my riders would set to work. We would attack their supply lines by night. We would rob and raid and fade away. These are commas. We would rob and raid and fade away. Why do you... No, I want the and there. They would send reinforcements, and the next night we'd hit them in some other place. Seems a good fit for you. It was perfect, and I was certain the plan would succeed. In a season or two, the Empire would have no choice but to withdraw. Yamon could claim victory over an Imperial Legion, and the Border Lords would flock to his banner. If we succeeded, Yamon promised me a dukedom in his new confederacy. So yes, I took the deal. Who wouldn't? Bobbert eyed Ureg carefully. So far, he'd heard nothing redeeming. The man was just a bandit. At Wintermoor, you attacked us without parley. Why? You flew the Imperial flag. Also, your band seemed ragged enough that we could ride right over you. I never expected to fight a Drake. Nor did we. I saw your triumph. My eyes stung for days afterward. I saw your blinding triumph. My eyes stung for days afterward. Your master had great power. He gave his life. Real power places others before the self. We cannot all be saints, Ureg shrugged. We need not be demons either, Bobbert countered. Ureg's hand clenched to fists. Only the threat over his head kept his temper in check. He was not used to being spoken to that way. I will speak more of demons, believe me. You are a child. You cannot understand the choices a man must make. This would be a semicolon, because it's two independent clauses, but let's make it two sentences. And especially, like, so we write Ureg so that his voice is, like, very clipped, right? Complete sentences, full stops, right? Simple words, although not all simple. Actually, we don't use simple words for him, because I was just incapable of writing him as a real barbarian. Because later you learn that he's not just the barbarian that he appears. And realistically, we might say something about that earlier in the thing. But I will speak more of demons, believe me. Isn't there a dot after either? No, so here's how this rule works. So Bobbert countered, or Bobbert said, is a dialogue tag, right? And so dialogue tags get a comma before them, whereas like a complete sentence and then a verb has a period. So this is a good place to see it here. This is just an English thing. Their grammar is the worst, right? Um, but so here, your egg shrugs, right? So shrugging isn't speech, right? So it is a period here. We need not be demons either, Bobbert countered. Bobbert is countering, right? He's countering with words. So it's a part of the speech there. So the comma just adds as a part of the complete sentence, right? So we cannot all be saints, your egg shrugged. Two separate sentences. We need not be demons either, Bobbert countered. It's like itself is a sentence, and the action is like slightly paused by this comma here. Like what a comma is really supposed to do is indicate a pause in spoken text for the most part, to separate up a couple of different constants or concepts or parts of speech. So, and keep in mind, like when I say all this grammar stuff, I really just do not know, right? I cannot remember this well. I'm not good at grammar. I don't like grammar, but slowly as I deal with it every single day, it's starting to like grind its way in. And I don't like grammar either, right? Because grammar has rules, and I'm not big on rules, to tell you the truth. I don't like things to be all ordered and this always works that way and blah, 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 blah. I like a little bit of chaos, confusion, discord, bureaucracy, aftermath in my life. But the world is this way, and when you're writing a book, you want the largest number of people to be able to like read it and enjoy it and so forth, and good grammar really makes it a lot easier. I am not famous enough to eschew the use of punctuation or do anything like that. And even if I was, those books fucking, I gotta pay $1. Those books suck. The ones where like somebody's doing some fancy thing where, you know, they're trying to be experimental and so forth. Almost none of them are good. Maybe like some of the Cormac McCarthy stuff is okay. But yeah, $26 I owe to the Leukemia Foundation. Jesus. Just because I can't keep my dumb yaps up. Yeah, a bit experimental and chaotic sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, man. Like, if you're too rigid, the light can't get out. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And it's when you let yourself go that, like, the inspiration strikes. But, you know, somebody who only lets themselves go or whatever, nobody's listening to that too, because it's too loose, right? So, you know, it's ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. Ain't what you say, it's the way that you say it. Ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. That's what gets results. You can try hard, don't mean a thing. Take it easy, breezy, then your jazz will swing. Hell yeah. All right, I will speak more of demons, believe me. You are a child. You cannot understand the choices a man must make. I fight not for Yamon's ambition, nor the Emperor's greed. I have men to leave. I have men to lead and mouths to feed. Traitors all say the same, Bobbert scowled. This wildfire springs from a single flame, Ureg countered. Yamon is not alone. Every lord beyond the riverland is keen to slip the Emperor's grip. Anvilan rots from within. Look at this veil. These people paid a heavy tax for the Emperor's protection. Where is he? All I see are ruined fields and scorched homes. Goblins dig up their family graves to adorn themselves with the bones of their fathers. Sparfadil was the jewel of the Empire. Why did the Emperor let it fall? I don't know, Bobbert admitted. It troubled him. Greed, weakness, and decline. The collapse is well underway. When the Empire falls, all the realms of men will be just like this, a goblin-haunted ruin. Well, I do like the goblin-hearted. Well, when the Empire falls, all the realms of men will be just like this goblin-haunted ruin. The Black Princes will ride in afterward and take all that they have gained.
Chaos will reign supreme. That's not true, Robert protested. I feel no arrow in my spine. Find the lie. There was silence from above. Bobbert searched for words to refute the Reaver, but he could not find them. He could not find them. Sparfadil was ruined. Wintermoor was broken. Dagbella was gone, and so many others with it.
I just love that all this ties into the fantasy wargame campaign. Like the kid is just coming up with like this brilliant justification for like dude A lost his battle with his miniature soldiers. Loving it.
There must be a way to escape. What if the Empire and the North join forces?
And like so in fantasy fiction, right? Almost everything is like an allegory for an existing like nation, right? And so here, anytime that lazy writers or hack writers such as yours truly write like Northmen and stuff like that, we're just ripping off like a bunch of Scandinavian tradition, right? So these are just Vikings or Laps or whatever the hell, and they're just changed up in like a few different ways and so forth. But really, a lot of fantasy is just retelling the tales of the past in like a slightly skewed way.
What if the Empire and the Northland join forces?
And in this case, like the goblins are just Mongols or Slavs or Moors or whatever. You know, whatever invading force is at the front of your mind.
Impossible. They are farmers. We are wolves. In the north, a man is free to worship the gods of his fathers. The Imperials call us heathen while they worship a living man. Even now, they spit on our emissaries. It would take a miracle to ally the two sides. Bobbert recalled the death of Gunag Dorson. This Ureg spoke the same, but he had not gone cracked and gone mad as the Master Halberdier had. Ureg's fatalism was born from a life of battle and strife. Surrounded on all sides by monsters, they still could not agree. It all felt so hopeless. If you hate us so much, why did you come to find us? Bobbert asked. At the Battle of Eravitramor, I watched your dwarves stand while my footmen broke. I saw the elf put an arrow through its eye. I saw you stand beside your master, a boy against the diamond drake. You are not like the others. Nor are you just a sellsword. We saw you rally your men and lead a charge at Eravitramor. Yes, of course. Who could resist such glory? But I was a fool. Half my force fled, never to be seen again. I managed to rally my coursers, only to see them cut to ribbons by his bladed breath. I never got close. I could only bear witness to your blinding triumph.
All right, so let's check out the earlier blinding triumph there.
I saw your victory.
There we go. And then we get to use the blinding triumph a little later on, because I like the phrase blinding triumph, but
they will sing of Prescote the Sage until the end of days. What happened next? Where did you go? My army was broken. Half my men were dying or struck blind. We could barely limp back to Stratham Keep. We could only limp back to Stratum Keep. I expected Yamon to be enraged and execute me for my failure. Instead, he was elated. What? Yes. As I spoke of Eravitramor, a fire grew in Yamon's eyes, and he began to laugh. None joined him. The lords in the audience hall were silent and afraid. With every eye upon him, he leapt upon the great table and kicked the candles aside, gleeful as a child. He thundered to the rafters that the end of days had begun at last. Yamon raved that the other world drakes would soon return and lay waste to the false works of No. He thundered to the rafters that the end of days had begun at last. Yamon raved that the other world drakes would soon return. Would soon return and lay waste to the false works of men. No man in the hall dared to speak against him. Instead, they cheered him on with terror in their eyes. Yamon fell to his knees and began to weep. When he rose, his face was gray and drained. He ordered his aides to prepare a great feast and departed the chamber. His court and I were left staring at one another, stunned. We were yoked to a madman. I began to plan my escape. First, I went to the infirmary to see if any of my men could be saved. My wounded could be saved. The red nuns had given them some drug that put... A sergeant I knew well babbled to me, something about strange treatment from the nuns. They were clad in crimson, their faces masked so I could see... They were clad in crimson, and their faces were veiled so I could only see their eyes. When I tried to talk to them, they would not answer me. I suppose they were under a vow of silence. Unsettled, I moved on to find my officers. The feast had already begun. I could only find a handful, and they were rattled and wanted to flee. They, too, they were rattled and wanted to flee. I gave them leave to slip away, but I had to remain. Else I'd doom the wounded. Before I could come up with a plan, I was summoned to attend the Duke. I had no desire to celebrate, but my presence was required. I have spent all my life with soldiers. I have sacked cities. Never before have I seen such excess. The Duke threw open the great gates and invited all the realm to attend. The Duke threw open the great gates and invited all the realm to attend his party. All night masked figures drifted in. Some did not walk like men. Some did not walk like men, but I blamed my injured vision. Every hall swirled with smoke and screams. In the dark corners, the revelers became beasts. There was much wine. I was careful to act as if I'd over-imbibed. The mad laughter Riotous as the air was, the mad laughter of Duke Yamon still cracked over everything. It was a riotous scene. The mad laughter of Duke Yamon cracked over everything. When he saw me, he lashed onto my arm with a grip like a blacksmith's tongs and babbled of black prophecies. A cup was pressed into my hand. I feigned besotted amazement as the Duke spoke from both sides of his mouth and cackled at his own contradictions. There was a terrible fever in that man, a furnace inside him that had burned up everything decent. He boasted that he had discovered the... Yeah, let's call him Yamon here. We're really laying it on thick in this chapter. So, this is laying it on super thick, and my one justification here is that this really is like very similar to the style of like some of the pulp magazines that this is drawing from. Like if you look at Clark Ashton Smith or Robert Howard or whatever, where they really are not super afraid to get really into details, and they're trying to whisk their reader away from their normal life of like working in a peach orchard or making shelves for the Nazis or whatever they're doing, and like whisk them away to a land of enchantment. So they have like all these hardcore details here, but this is a writing style that is very dense and difficult to parse for a modern reader. So the thing is, like, this kind of super dark, grimy stuff too. Like I like it, but we have to be aware that we're going on for like 10 pages in the middle of a story that's meant to be like super heartwarming. So this whole section of the book may be a little off key, but I'm not gonna stop because I honestly like I like this kind of thing, and I hope that I can fit it into the story. But like if I was a commercial editor or whatever, I would cut this nonsense in a hurry and get to the meat of the story, which is like the grandfather grandson or grandmother grandson dynamic and the sickness and whatever. Like really, the story is probably significantly stronger if you just cut out all the like the fantasy bits and just make it like a whatever. But that's not fun to do, and so we're doing it the hard way. Yamon boasted that he had discovered the secret of immortality. He insisted I attend him in his laboratory so he could show me. Yamon boasted that he had discovered the secret of immortality. He insisted I attend him in his laboratory so that he could show it to me. Realizing my cup was drugged, I made a great show of throwing everything up and wallowing like a swine. The Duke broke into hysterics. He had his guards haul me off to the courtyard and dump me in a trough to sober me up. I played possum. When their guard was down... Mm-hmm.
Okay, and here we're just trying to break up these long blocks of dialogue and center to the reader that this guy is telling a story. We're just kind of giving them a breather because the blocks are like very long. He's saying a lot of stuff, and that is how people tell like a story. It just like kind of pours out of them in these long blocks of exposition, and they don't necessarily need to be prodded along, but these hopefully serve as an anchor and also it's a little cheap, but we're trying to um, build some sense of excitement that there is a revelation in this tale and that it's important and it's like tenser than it should because it's a tense story, you know, like this guy, the Duke is crazy, his men are like whatever, but tension without beats of pausing, like it's just like music, right? You know, if you have too much energy in one place, the ear gets dead to it. Like it's the pauses that let you like appreciate the. I should know the. It's the pauses. It's the breaks that let you hear the chorus. If that makes sense. I don't. That's a really clumsy way to put it, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. I played possum while their guard was down. Oh, actually, Bobbert listened closely. The breeze died and the leaves fell still. Even the night birds were quiet, as if they too wished to hear Uri's tale. So one of the things I hate is the way that two like always seems to have like two commas around it. Yeah, this is real clunky. It's a shame. I want to get into the next thing. Let's X the Oracle, what it says about. I'm mainly like thinking our commas are wrong here. All right, cool. Cool. We can get away with the commas on two, according to the robot. That's what I'm talking about. Here we go. It's a crazy mixed up world.
It's a dog-eat-dog world. I played possum. While their guard was down, I seized both by their collars and drowned them. The great gates were wide, and I might have... The gates of Stratham Keep were wide open, and I might have escaped. But I could not abandon my men. I found a rutting couple who'd flung their clothes aside and stole a mask and robe. Disguised, I slipped back into the keep. Though I'd purged, the drug still took hold.
You had that happen to you, where you threw up and you get high anyway? Shout outs to mushrooms. Jesus.
The stone walls of the keep seemed to breathe. The tiles beneath my feet rolled in hissing waves. Lost, I blundered on, searching for my men. I saw a few of my officers, but they were caught in debauch and hopelessly drunk. I hid and moved on. Debauches.
So I guess debauch isn't like the state of being.
I hid and moved on. I slipped past and moved on. In a dark hallway, I tripped over a guard who was stone dead. Past him was the door to the Duke's study. I searched his desk and rifled through his papers and proclamations. There were no answers. Everything crawled with black madness. A whiff of foul rot led me to a hidden door covered by a tapestry. A whiff of foul rot led me to a tapestry that covered a hidden door. I peered inside, and the stench grew worse. Just then, voices shouted in the hall outside. Afraid I'd be so he's now tripping on acid, right? And like terrified he's gonna get caught. Afraid I'd be caught, I slipped into the dark passage and pulled the door shut behind me. As I went,
There we go.
a red light glowed at the end of the secret corridor, and I could hear distant cries. I had found Yamon's laboratory. First was the kennel. Men and women were stacked in cages like dogs along the walls, naked and shivering. They yelped and whined, but there was nothing left in their eyes. They did not even plead for help. Next was the tannery. Prisoners were strapped upside down and force-fed through funnels. They were hung from hooks and flayed alive, with their skin rolled up like parchment. I armed myself with one of the skinning knives and continued. And moved deeper. The last chamber was the Duke's secret, a well of whispers. The walls and floors were of darkest jet, lit by ruby lamps. The air reeked of burning metal and gangrene. At the center of the room was a pit of heaving flesh. As I clutched the knife, the pool of viscera rose to face me. It took a man's shape, but it was incomplete, just a dripping mess of bloody muscle and entrails. The abomination was a dripping mass of bloody muscle and entrails, covered by a quilt of sewn-together skins. The half-made thing glared at me with a dozen plucked-out eyes, and spoke through 3 mouths, serpent, dog, and woman. The abomination bespelled me. All my muscles cramped at once in a terrible rictus. It spoke at length. Nilium Yamon's use was almost through. It spoke at length and told me Nilium Yamon's use was almost through. Excess had eaten his mind. The Duke had grown too unreliable for the Black Prince's liking, and they needed us. The monster made me an offer. The Duke had grown too unreliable for the Black Prince's liking, and they desired a successor. They desired a successor, and I was their choice. The Black Princes would raise me high. I would rise as a general in the armies of the Bladed Lady. For my obedience, general is capital here, just because it's a unit type. I would ride as a general in the armies of the Bladed Lady. For my obedience, they would grant life everlasting. As payment for my obedience, they would grant me life everlasting and an indescribable pleasure. My broken men would rise again, remade as knights of chaos. We would ride north to begin a crimson age where whim is law and all bonds are broken. Ooh, I really like where he's getting here. Like this is very ham-fisted and very wordy, but also super cool. Yeah. I mean, this chapter could easily be cut to like a quarter, but you would lose a lot of what's going on. I recoiled. I recoiled from the thought. Black worms squirmed from its mouths and crawled towards me. The abomination hissed. I recoiled from the thought. Black worms squirmed from its mouths and crawled towards me. I think we call it a monster. The thing in the pit hissed that if I would not accept its generous offer, the mind. The thing in the pit hissed that if I would not. The thing in the pit hissed that since I would not accept its generous offer, a clutch of mindworms would nest in my skull. This is a semicolon. Actually, one, this is like a very clunky sentence right here. All right. Okay, so semicolon is wrong. The thing in the pit hissed that since I would not accept its generous offer, a clutch of mindworms would nest in my skull. It mattered not if I rode as a general, comma, or lurched on all fours as a husk slave. The void would win either way. Ah! Bobbert. Ah! Bobbert cringed. And so cringing is also not a dialogue tad, sadly. Ah! Bobbert cringed. Ha! I think I sounded much like that. I began to scream. As I did, I began to scream. I don't know if the drug was fading, or if sheer terror broke its sorcerous hold. I turned and fled through the chambers. The abomination rasped inside my mind and tried to compel me to leap into the pit, but its power was spent.
Why is this everything just bobbing so much here? Really should replace this desk with something a little sturdier. Yeah, it's just like a flimsy piece of Chinesium. The abomination rasped inside my mind and tried to compel me to leap into the pit. I fled Yamon's laboratory in a panic. When I tore through the tapestry, the study was empty, and the body was gone. I rushed through the halls and found my way back to the infirmary. I was too late. Most of my men were gone. There was one survivor. Okay, so now we gotta go back and make this guy old, because we just needed something to differentiate him here. A veteran sergeant who I knew well. Yeah, that's fine. Ba, 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 ba. All right, and so sword and sorcery fiction is just full of these. Like, I went into a place full of weird horrors and escaped by virtue of my manliness or whatever. That's the premise of maybe like a quarter of all the Conan stories, maybe more, maybe half of them or something like that. So I rushed through the halls and found my way back to the infirmary. I was too late. Most of my men were gone. Most of my men were dead or missing. There was one survivor.
The old sergeant who warned me about the red nuns. He was pinned to the bed with a rapier driven through his guts. When he refused them, the red knights skewered him and made him watch. When he refused them, the red knights skewered. When the sergeant refused them, the red knights skewered him and made him watch their vile work. There was one survivor, the old sergeant who had warned me about the red nuns. He was pinned to the bed with a rapier driven through his guts. When the sergeant refused them, the red knights skewered him and made him watch their vile work. The sergeant... Alright, so... He begged me to pull the blade free, but he would have died at once. I needed him to tell me what had happened to my men. The sergeant sobbed and told me the red nuns were Yamon's concubines. Their true forms were a horror to behold. They moved through the ranks, whispering and promising. Those who refused had their lives sucked away. Their bodies were hauled off, fodder for the flenser. Those who accepted the boon were healed and made anew as fiends. They were searching for me, eager to bring me into the fold. I'd lost everything. I lost everything. There was no one left to save. A great rage kindled in me, darker than any I've known. Darker than any before it. The last thing I can recall is the sergeant begging me to put him out of his misery. He knew he would not be strong enough to resist when the red nuns returned. After that, all is red. I do not know how I found my swords, or how many lives they claimed. As the rage ebbed, I was outside the gates, shivering and soaked in blood. The blue moon was high in the east. As I fled into the hills, a man climbed onto the parapets and howled after me. It was Duke Yamon. He screamed that there was no escape from what was already within. No matter how I tried to run, I would drown in the red tide to come. His laugh followed me for leagues. Ureg paused, his voice thick with memory. The wood was silent. The river whispered in the distance. The Viridian River whispered in the distance. Now you know my tale. Kill me if you will. Again, no arrow came. The stars preserve me for a reason. Every night I have the same dream. Yamon will lead my men north. Yamon will lead my warped men north to Lastgate. The garrison will recognize them and let them in, only to be overwhelmed by fiends in human skin. I have to stop them. I admit, I am a sellsword and a bandit. I have lied and cheated. My deeds are bleak. But I have never lain with chaos. Help me. If the traitors take Lastgate, all is lost. There is an evil there that can never be allowed to escape. Please, I beg you, help me stop. Help me stop Duke Yamon. The proud windsworn sank to his knees and clasped his hands together before the apprentice, like a common beggar. He pressed his forehead into the dirt. Cinnabanathi stepped forward. She was behind Ureg with her hand on her scimitar. Bobbert had heard no sound of her climbing down. What say you, Bobbert? Mercy cost us dearly already. Bobbert stopped and thought. Chaos poisoned everything it touched. This Ureg was far too close. His eyes were haunted and darting. Even if the dream was a lie, some doom surely pursued him. Even if the story of Yamon's Keep was a fantasy, some doom surely pursued him. If this tale is true, then we must aid him. There is an ancient vault beyond Lasgate. For centuries it has been guarded by the line of Hermionir, the Rune King. Ureg raised his hand at the name. He is my blood. I am the black sheep of Hermionir's line. The bandit is a prince? Cinnabanathi scoffed. Kings were the stupidest things dwarves had ever invented. Anger flashed in his cold blue eyes. Anger flashed in Ureg's cold blue eyes, but he bowed his head. I am nothing. Ureg swallowed his fury. If you want our help, you must earn it. Join our quest. We're bound for Black Boar. If we make it out alive, I will let you make your case to the other leaders. If what you say is true, we must act. You have my oath. Ureg clasped a hand over his heart. Before Cinnabanathi could tell him what his oath was worth, a wolf howled in the distance. More voices joined it. More voices joined in. They'd tarried too long listening to Ureg's tale. Riders were on their way. Cool. So that big long chapter that took us an hour and a half to get through. Well, really, I was just digging around for the first half hour, as usual. But yeah, honestly, I can see why I kept this piece in the story, even knowing that it needs to be removed. It really is something that I like, and I enjoy having this kind of thing in the story. And, sometimes you just got to be true to yourself, right? I remember with Zeros, we had a chapter called The Legend of Arcturus, parts 1 and 2. And The Legend of Arcturus, how do I not have a copy? Oh, so Zeros is right here. So in Zeros, there is The Legend of Arcturus. The Legend of Arcturus is a very, maybe not lengthy, but a very dense history of the war between Long Tang Chinsi and the Reconcilers. And it goes on, but it really is a tense military battles and tactics and strategy and genocide and stuff like that. And some readers just love that section, right? Those two sections, it's a very strong divider where it eliminates the casual reader entirely, and the genre reader who likes that kind of stuff and so forth is enthralled and loves it, right? And I like it too, and that's a reason why I wrote it into the story. And maybe that book would have been a bigger hit without that chapter in it. But I'm not willing to find out. I want that chapter in it. I want the books to contain this stuff. And since I'm largely writing for myself, I don't have a contract. Nobody wants to buy this or whatever. Right now, I'll tell you, nobody is reading the story on Royal Road. If you're only doing something for yourself, then you might as well make something that you like, rather than trying to appeal to a faceless person who you haven't ever met or whatever. Doesn't mean that we can get away with how fruity that chapter is, but it does mean that we should fight to include it in there and try to make it approachable as much as possible.
So I'm keeping that chapter. F what you heard, this what you hear, and listen. So, how are we doing? Is everyone having fun? Duncan checked in. Duncan stocked the game to check in. Everyone was. Whoa, Sandy breathed. That's so creepy. This is better than The Exorcist. What's at Last Gate? Travel there and see if you dare, Vlad challenged. They took a break to set up the next phase of the game. Vlad arranged dungeon tiles while Duncan doled out experience points and helped them figure out help the other players figure out how to level up their characters. Robin got to pick a new spell. He thought about Flaming Sphere or Freeze Ray, but because of Bobbert's passive, his spells still had a 1 in 6 chance to fail spectacularly. The Arcane Disaster table for damage spells was brutal. He chose Web instead, guessing he would probably need to hold back 1,000,000 goblins at some point. Vlad wasn't pulling any punches during combat. They'd barely survived the Wolf Riders. Wolf Riders. Great playing, Sandy. Ureg's tale was darker than expected. Duncan threw a look at Vlad. Is he telling him to take it easy because of me? Robin worried. He didn't want to be treated like a little kid. I think it's more like Rosemary's Baby than The Exorcist. Duke Yamon reminds me a bit of Roman Castevet, Robin said. What? Hold on. I want to make sure my dog's okay. Second. Hachi. Hachi. Sorry, that was a critical break in our editing session. My little wiener dog was having a nightmare and making like those little dog noises, like, and it was just critical that I go and like pat her stomach and then take her outside and like throw the tennis ball for her a little bit. It's important. It's critical. Is he telling me to take it eat? I think it's more like Rosemary's Baby than The Exorcist. Duke Yamon reminds me a bit of Roman Castevet, Robin spoke up. You watched Rosemary's Baby? Vlad was surprised. Yeah, it was Sharon Tate, right? I saw it last October. Pretty faithful to the book. The dialogue was almost verbatim. Robin threw in a big word to seem more mature. Robin the Prodigy, Sandy teased. Cram it, Amsler. Robin, have you seen Belladonna of Sadness? It's a Japanese animation, another Faustian bargain. So Faustian should be capital. Another Faustian bargain. It ran at Don Pancho's. I haven't, but it sounds cool. It's overrated, but the art is good, Sandy said. You have no taste, Amsler. If I had no taste and I just said your story is good, where does that put you? Wait, back up. Your grandma let you see Rosemary's Baby? Duncan squinted at Robin, still incredulous. He hadn't forgotten Una's wrath. Ha! Not a chance. This was in Amarillo. My friend Emilio's brother Bertrand used to be a projectionist. We would hang out with him in the booth, and he would make Emilio change the reels when he went out for a smoke. You can't smoke in the booth, because some film will blow up. Those reels are super heavy, but it was so worth it. The reels are super heavy, but it was so worth it. We saw every movie that summer, and the whole I have no idea why I chose to have an M dash. And then this should be italicized. In fact, like I think all the cases where people have like a lot of these. So what you're doing when you add like a bunch of O's or whatever. Whoa. When you add like extra letters to something, it almost becomes like an onomatopoeia where the sound is more important than like the meaning of the word. Whoa by itself can mean like, oh, hold up, hold your horses, whoa there. Or whoa, dude. Totally smoking out of a honey bear. But in this case, it when you add like a few characters to it, I think, and this is just my gut feeling, that it should be italicized because it becomes an onomatopoeia. But I could be wrong, but I'm not. My friend Emilio's brother Bertrand used to be a projectionist. We would hang out with him in the booth, and he would make Emilio change the reels when he went reels. He made Emilio change the reels when he went out for a smoke. You can't smoke in the booth because some film will blow up. The reels are super heavy, but it was so worth it. We saw every movie that summer and the whole horror festival that fall. Then Emilio screwed up and swapped a reel from Carrie into Rocky. Everyone booed. The audience booed so loud. The manager found out that let's see. The owner found out that Bertrand had his little brother doing his job and got so mad. That was the end of free movies. Ha ha! Vlad's burrow laugh cracked up the whole room. What a goof. How did you like Carrie? I like the book better, but the movie's still pretty good. Sissy Spacek nailed it. You know he's got a new one coming out in August, right?
I have it reserved already at the library. You know Stephen King has a new book coming out in August, right? I have it reserved already at the library. I have it pre-reserved at the library. Vlad lit up with surprise. He grabbed his backpack and plonked it on the table. From inside, he pulled out a sky blue book with paper clips jutting from the foredge. The cover read, Advanced Reading Copy, The Dead Zone, Stephen King, 428 pages, Viking Press, publication, August 30, 1979, 625 Madison Avenue, New York, New York, 10022. No way, Robin was amazed. How did you get this? What's with all the paper clips? Those are my notes. I'm writing a review for a new magazine that's coming out in the fall. It was hard to believe this was the same jerk who dismissed Robin. Who dismissed Robin on the first day he came into Duke Games. It was hard to believe this was the same jerk who dismissed Robin on that very first day, when he come into Duke Games with Una. Oh wait, did I delete like a super important? Yes, I did. Vlad had opened up so much. He was different from the way Duncan was so easygoing with everyone. Vlad's respect had to be earned. Wait, you write reviews for magazines? Robin was stunned. Yeah, I also have stuff in Starlog. They barely pay, but it's great for my portfolio. I'm trying to get some articles in Black Labyrinth too, but RSI is kind of insular. I want to get into the journalism program at USC. Robin paused. He expected the other guys would all jump on Vlad for talking big about going to college. They didn't. Looking around the room, they didn't. He realized they probably all had their schools picked out, too, so... He realized they probably all had their schools picked out, too. It was a whole different crew than he was used to. Robin was minding... It was a whole different crew than Robin was used to. Lately, he was minding it less and less. What's the new magazine called? Fangoria. They'll cover horror and fantasy. If I'm in it, obviously they'll be a huge success. And you can buy it right here at Duke Games. Duncan beamed. I'm telling you, this is the best hobby store in America. World-class writers, painters, players. We have world-class writers, painters, and players. Sandy and Vlad puffed up their chests. It was hard to disagree. So far, the game was amazing. Robin was having a blast. So, is the Dead Zone any good? Robin asked. You'll have to read the review and see, Vlad dangled. Ah, come on. I don't want to wait that long, Robin said. Robin pushed away the thought that he might not even be around that long. Not tonight. Vlad made a show of turning his head from side to side. It's not good, he said quietly. It rules.
Yeah, all right, so that's a good chapter ending. All right, so I want to say this chapter is like 4 or 5,000 words by itself. Long chapter. This really potentially, and there's numerous places where you could break this up, but I think I'm just going to leave it as like the 5,000 word, 15-page chapter. You get a few in every book. Yeah, it's just doing a lot. Yeah, like this could stop. And I think the two chapters before it were like pretty brief there. Um Ooh, yeah, let's call the chapter The Well of Whispers. All right, so here we are back at Yon Royal Road. Sadly, no notifications. Uh, no one writes to the general. All right, but maybe this new chapter will win them over. Yeah, we only have 15 followers for this guy. Nobody has written this, but 6 people have favorited it. Really, at this stage of the game, most writers would just stop posting the story because it's a failure. But I don't feel like doing it, so we're not going to do that. Do this guy here. Boom. And all looks good to me. Let me just check out the advanced reading copy part of the thing. Okay. And instead of open sans, let's just do a little thing here where we put this part to... Yeah, we'll just change the font for that particular part. Cool. All right, so here's chapter 27. That probably all the editing I'm going to do today because that took a lot of mana. And later tonight, I do want to watch the UFC. And all right, let's take bets on. I think this is 4,500 words. No, it's less. It's like 3,000. I'm getting ahead of myself here. All right, so let's go back to our dashboard. And then this chapter, well, 46, 51. So really, it's kind of like a double chapter. This is the longest chapter in the piece by double. So shout out to anybody who is looking to get into the Well of Whispers. And honestly, it's like kind of my word goal or writing goal to get into this. Yeah, so the last time anybody cared about the story enough to say something was thanks for the chapter. So not a good sign in my goal to win a Hugo, but just the same, here I am trying anyway. We've begun this process. We will get through it by hook or by crook. And, if this one doesn't work out, I got more behind it. I have other books that I'm supposed to be writing. But I like this one. I think there is something special about it. And I feel like the advertisement that we put on the Royal Road for it is not good. I'm considering running a different one. Because, like, the click-through was awful. And, like, it's Gen AI slop and so forth. Yeah, I think I'll throw $50 onto another ad, and then I'll see if I can win people over with the new design. Because it really is, to me, Like I love this stuff, like this kind of nostalgic throwback, a lot of emotion and so forth. Like the tie-in of the fantasy, really difficult to like weave in these threads and so forth and have like a compelling narrative. So I'd like for it to succeed, but Lord, I'm not doing good. Uh, so let me do a little bit of revamping of something like the picture for this. Maybe have like a landing page. One of the things that I really want to do with this story as we get closer to like a print book is I would love to have like some illustrations and stuff. Really like do the interior of the book, kind of like Robin's journal. But I digress. Let's chill for now, and then maybe there'll be more streaming later today. But I might just chill because I'm tired, boys. All right, so thank you, DNSK, for joining in for a hot second there. Thank you to anybody who views this in the future. My struggle is endless, but I can't stop and I won't stop.